Hi again, this is Dr. Keela of Good Hair, Good Body, connecting the dots for you. We are connecting the dots between nutrition and disease, as well as skin and hair issues, because a lot of diseases have skin and hair manifestations. Today, we're connecting the dots between three concepts: endocrine disruptors, type 2 diabetes, and hair loss. So if you're ready, let's go. So for the sake of time and expedience, I wrote this down ahead of time, but we're going to cover it quite thoroughly. Endocrine disruptors, if you don't know what those are, look at my previous post, but in summary, they are chemicals that create chaos. So obviously the creator didn't make them. In this case, we're talking about them in relationship to overeating, leading to insulin resistance, aka type 2 diabetes, and hair loss. So one of the things that endocrine disruptors do, and they're pervasive in a lot of processed foods, they stimulate appetite and decrease satiety, or sense of fullness. How do they do that? Through these two hormones. Leptin puts the brakes on us overeating. Leptin is a hormone from the gut that tells the brain we've had enough, we're full. Endocrine disruptors inhibit that signal, so there's nobody pressing the brake. Ghrelin is the hormonal signal that tells the brain, hey, let's eat more, we're still hungry. So endocrine disruptors press the accelerator. When you press the accelerator and remove the brake, you go too fast, you overeat, you eat beyond nutritional necessity, you consume too many calories, those excess calories are stored as fat. The other thing that endocrine disruptors do is make us crave more sugar, more salt, more fat, and particularly sugary flavors, fatty flavors, salty flavors. Because remember, endocrine disruptors are synthetic most of the time, or they are natural molecules that have been Frankensteined in the lab, okay, to make them addictive and trick our brains into overeating processed foods. Well, when we have consumed, let me start over here. We're eating beyond medical necessity, consuming too many calories, storing those excess calories as fat, and also storing toxins in the excess fat, so we become more toxic that way too. We end up gaining weight. Also, we're overeating things that are sugary, so our blood sugar elevates. And when our blood sugar elevates when we store too much fat, our cells become insulin resistant, particularly our liver, our adipose tissue, aka fatty tissue, and our skeletal muscle all becomes fat. If you ever seen muscle that is overly fat, there's marbling in that muscle. That tissue is insulin resistant. So when our blood sugar is too high, we make these things called accelerated glycation end products. That basically means sugar that has inappropriately been attached to proteins in our blood, proteins on our cell membranes, and fat in our cell membranes as well as our blood. That stuff is toxic. It sets off a chain of reactions that causes our hair follicles and other cells, but our hair follicles, which are miniature organs, as well as cells around them, to become inflamed, aka they burn, and to rust. That is problematic because it causes hair follicles to die. When those hair follicles die, they stop producing hair, so we experience permanent hair loss. That's just from the hyperglycemia, the high blood sugar. Now, from the insulin resistance, we end up making too many androgens, particularly women, too many androgens, male hormones in our ovaries. Instead of our ovaries making estrogens, they overproduce testosterone, not testosterone per se, but DHEA, which is one of many types of androgens. That androgen gets converted to DHTA, which is dihydrotestosterone, a very potent testosterone that causes hair follicle atrophy. They shrink. Hair follicles shrink when exposed to DHT in high amounts. Well, hair follicles that are shrinking are progressively becoming dysfunctional, so they're not growing hair. But if we remove the DHT, our hair follicles will regenerate and our hair will grow. But if we don't remove that DHT, hair follicles will shrink until they die. We stop producing, the hair follicles will stop producing hair, and we'll experience permanent hair loss. If you want to know how to short circuit this circuit, okay, if you really want to know how to short circuit this circuit, I get into it more in depth. This was just a summary. But if you want to know how to short circuit this entire circuit so that you can regrow hair, and I haven't even talked about how endocrine disruptors affect skin. But if you want to short circuit this circuit, learn how, tap the link in our bio below. We have a number of courses that will help you learn how to short circuit this unhealthy circuit so that you can regrow hair and do so abundantly. Avoid excess weight gain, normalize your blood sugar, avoid being insulin resistant, save your hair follicles, and normalize your sense of fullness as well as your appetite. All of these things are connected. They seem like they're not, but they are. And at Good Hair, Good Body, we specialize in connecting the dots for you. Okay? We don't provide medical advice, only medical education. This is Good Hair, Good Body signing out. Tap the link in our bio below and see what we have to offer you or your loved ones. You won't regret it. And we do all of this in layman's terms. Notice, I barely used any medical language in this. And you've learned something new today. Take care. See you next time. Connecting the dots with Good Hair, Good Body. Dr. Keela signing out.